Hi, Ma. Would love to know what's your name, Ma.
My name is Snowy Koza. I'm the executive chairman of Snoko Investments in South Africa.
Okay. And are you a speaker for the Kectil Ghana conference?
I came to Accra, Ghana, to the Kectil Youth Conference as a speaker. My passion is on anti-corruption solutions, as well as advising the youth in terms of gender balancing.
Okay. Would love to know what's your message to the youth, the young people out there in the world. What's that specific message you have for them?
My message to the youth is be vigilant, be focused on what you want to do. As I said yesterday, understand your environment. As I said also yesterday, my grandmother said, if you don't know your enemy or what your challenges are or what you're dealing with, you won't be able to find solutions for that and also win against your enemy. So just watch on what you do. Ensure that whatever that you're doing is going to give impact to society, whether in politics, whether in business, whether in your private life, or whether working with the communities. Make sure that everything that you do gives back. Do good while you're doing whatever that you're doing for society. Sustainable challenges that we are facing currently, environmental challenges, energy challenges, sanitation, water, housing, is our responsibility. Not only government is supposed to give solutions or address those issues, government has to ensure that they provide conducive environment for business to do what is employed to do. And I truly believe that all of you as young people, you have a hand and a contribution to make society better, to make your environment better. You've got tools, technology, you're always on social media. Use social media positively to make a difference in society, and continue to support one another and work with each other and build entrepreneurial skills, communication skills, and live good and healthy lives so that you're able to make a contribution in society.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, I'm
Wish
bye.
you well. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, I would love to know you. So, what's your name, Ma?
I'm Laurel. I am a social media manager, content creator, and a content writer. But I'm also an enthusiast for wellness. I love wellness so much. So I'm building a brand in wellness for creatives, remote workers, and people.
Okay, amazing. So, would love to know what is your message to the young people in the world out there. What's that specific message?
So for me, I would say be hungry enough for what you want to achieve. You can achieve it. It's not so big. It's not perfect. You are not so different from the people doing big things, amazing things. You have the same brain. Even though some people might seem like they have more opportunity, I think that so far as you have God, right? If God is in the picture, you are good to go because He's the one that causes us willing to do. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, and
You're welcome.
bye.
All right. So, my name is Courage Besadano. I'm a doctor of entomology and then also intellectual property examiner, and I also teach intellectual property at Panakoma University of Science and Technology, the engineering department. We train scientists and lawyers in branding and trademarks, how to use these IPR tools. And I work currently at the Ghana Industrial Property Office as head of unit for geographical indications and then also plant variety protection. As part of our work, we also engage academia training researchers and scientists to be able to use the intellectual property tools for their research and inventions and innovations. More importantly, trying to help them as institution build IP systems within the institution so that the entire research institutions or academic institutions can be able to use the IP rights or the intellectual property tools well to help our researchers to be able to bring out products and solutions that will impact the Ghanaian society and the world at large. So, great. All right. So, for anyone in Ghana or around Africa, especially, where the usage of intellectual property as a tool is not that well known compared with other parts of the world. What you need to do, or the pitfalls you really need to understand, is that getting a right for your inventions and innovations is a private right. And so first of all, you should know that it is your private right, and it is first and foremost your responsibility to take steps to make sure it is enforced once you have the rights, just like any property that belongs to you in this life. Also, when you are developing a product, understand that you have to be careful as to who you talk to in the development of that product, that innovation, that invention. From ideation, when you conceive the idea and the processes you will have to take that idea through to the final expression of what you are dreaming about, you should be careful, because once you put it out, whether you go and publish it, if you're a researcher and it's gone out in the public domain, you cannot have any right for it. When you tell a friend or someone who you don't track, and that person goes ahead of you to the IP office to get that innovation or invention protected, you will lose, because you, the original owner, if you come back later, somebody have already come to the IP office, and intellectual property system works on first come, first serve basis. So you don't just get out and put out information when it is a technical information that is protectable. You need to make sure you get it protected before you begin to talk. Then your processes and data and information, need to be carefully recorded and kept well so that it's not easily churned out. Those are processes that are very important for you. And understand that intellectual property is also territorial. So you always begin from your home country to everywhere in the world, because the systems are such that you begin from your country, then you can designate any other part of the world depending on which rights you want to get, and it will be protected there. And lastly, I would say that as an inventor or innovator or an entrepreneur, kindly school yourself in intellectual property rights and how you can deploy them for your commerce, because they are number one strategic tool, apart from all other things, for the commercialization of your final product. So you need to school yourself, just as you go for a little financial knowledge, you go for administration and management knowledge. Intellectual property is also important. Understand how it works and understand how you will use it. And then once it's part of your strategic processes, you can deploy it for the growth of your business.
Yeah. Great. And then the last question for today.
Well, personally, as a trainer and a youth coach as such, anywhere or any platform that has a mission or a vision to gather young people and prepare them for the next generation or for their life, I am for it. So the first thing that did struck me, of course, is the fact that young people have been guarded and some knowledge is being shared to them, and these are critical tools for their onward, decisions and choices in life to make sure that they are able to fit well into society in terms of what they want to do, in this case as entrepreneurs and innovators and inventors around the world, so that they can best fit into society and bring out processes and products and tools that society can benefit from. So that is in itself is a great, vision and a great mission, because young people need to be prepared well and settled well so that they can take advantage of all opportunities around the world that belong to them. So on that note, I think the Kectil program is doing well, so long as it is not only just training them, but in future there could be some activities to move them from just training and also supporting them and building their capacity and physically, trying to establish those who are serious and could receive some funding and other things to make sure they are well established and well coached to do well in life. So congratulations to Kectil, and it's a great program. Thank you.
My name is Samalanu. I work in the intellectual property space. In fact, I used to work in the research institution where I began intellectual property. And my first training in intellectual property was somewhere in 1994. So that's how I've been on the intellectual property landscape. Aside that, I worked in other industries. I worked in the finance industry before coming back to the intellectual property space. So currently, I'm a consultant at the Ghana Industrial Property Office, and specifically looking at special projects and also rolling out the new laws that we are implementing. Now, an invitation was given to the office for us, for our head, as the Registrar General, to come and share her experience with the youth. And she asked us, me and another colleague, to come over to share that experience with the youth, and also to tell them what we do in the office and how our doors are open for them. So essentially, that's how I got to this conference.
Great. So, can you tell us about the cost of intellectual property in Africa? Usually, you can give reference to how that could be lowered to help more young people have access to this, right?
Okay.
So, these are things your hands like this.
So, technically, in the office, for every IP law that we operate, we have three teams working on it: the technical, legal, and then administrative. Unfortunately, the cost issues are handled by the administrative person. So I don't have figures in my mind per se, but it has been an issue of cost of intellectual property, which I've not seen numbers being thrown around. There's always, it's expensive. For example, if you take trademarks, if you pay, you make payment for trademarks, it covers you for 10 years. So assuming it's $500 for 10 full years. And that's for one class. I think in terms of saying expensive or so, I'm not seeing the figures. What I think is that before you embark on the registration of a right, you should look at your markets. Because it's a strategic move. You look at your markets, what are you going to make in that market, how many products are you sending, etc. And based upon that, you run your numbers as against, you treat it as a project and see whether you have a positive NPV or negative NPV. Is your internal rate of return, your benchmark, is it up to that? Then based upon that, then you know that you are making an investment and that is going to give you a decent return. But talking about cost alone, I have not seen numbers anywhere which is proving to me that it's expensive. It's always said, but they should prove it. That is the issue. So the matter is that yes, we should look at our business systems well because we do investments. So in applying for a right, it's also an investment you are making. So you make that, you apply for that right in a particular market. If it is the product is not doing well and you want to abandon, you don't go to renew that right. So that issue of is expensive. I've heard it several times, but I think it's just being overflowed. Yes.
Great. I would like to know, how does intellectual property rights contribute to a country?
Okay. Like we always say, intellectual property is not a standalone. It has to be linked with all your activities that you are undertaking. Hitherto, Adam Smith, those economist guys say the factors of production are capital, land, and labor. But in the 21st century, what is it? Knowledge. And the IP tools are the tools that are used to protect that knowledge and also to ensure that it is used fairly. So we are in the age where now intangible assets, of which intellectual property is part of it, is key. And some researches that have been done was done by an IP investment bank in the US for the S&P markets in 1975 or so. For stocks listed on the S&P markets, I think 1975, 17% of the value of that stock came from intangible assets, of which intellectual property is part. Fast forward to 2020, is 90%. That is from the US. You go to Europe, 2020, S&P 300, 75% of the value of a stock comes from intangible assets. There's another one from Korea, 57%. So the way we're moving with the AI and all of the new developments and stuff are coming, it means that we have to take our intellectual property very serious. Other than that, we are going to lose out. And in terms of company valuation, etc., intellectual property is key. So at firm level, you need to capture that value. And at the same time, you then see once these firms are producing goods and services, they go then to affect the GDP, which then shows the kind of markets and then the contribution towards the economy. So it's from what are those value drivers in your company that you can see the IP, and also how do you exploit that, enhance that IP rights. So essentially from firm level right down to the national level. So IP is very important.
Great. Last question is, tell us about what has fascinated you about the Kectil program and the conversation and the kind of questions that young people are having. What's the Kectil program?
For me, I'm always all for anything that empowers the youth. And if this is, I've not read about it, but the little that I saw, and even to ask them to come and speak about intellectual property, shows that you are moving in the right direction. And to empower the youth, because we have been on the trail for long. Personally, what I find with the youth is that they have a lot of opportunities, but unfortunately, they need to be, some of them are not properly focused and they have to be guided. And I think one of these programs is one of those things that can really equip them with skills. I've seen the diverse questions that are being asked. Someone saying she's an AI engineer, I want to have a conversation with her. There's someone who said he's a psychologist and he's translating that into games that kids can use. So from their own background, they are developing businesses, etc. And they are being empowered. Apart from the networking they will get here, also they will hear things from other persons, and especially the leadership issues, which if they are properly, mentored, they can carry it out. So for me, I think it's a positive.
Great. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. That's the end of our it.
Thank you very much.
So, great. So please tell us, what is your name? What do you do and how did you learn about the Kectil?
Hi, my name is Stanley Mwog. I am a product designer, but I'm also an entrepreneur, the founder and current CEO of Lighted. And Lighted is a renewable energy organization that recycles waste into renewable energy solution. I learned about Kectil from a friend who is Charles Matthias, who is a board member of the Kectil. And it's an amazing opportunity because I got to be a speaker for this year's youth conference in Accra, Ghana.
First, you're an entrepreneur and you have a long journey to take a days probably more to share the story of your experience. But give us an overview of the main qualities that took you to start off the journey of entrepreneurship. Majorly, what inspired you to start?
I think what inspired me was my love and passion for technology, but also my curiosity. I think as a kid or even growing up, I always wanted to figure out how things work, and that evolved into how do you make things work. And I would say that drove my journey from building solutions to how do you build sustainable solutions. So not just how do things work, how do you make things work, and how do you make other things work for what you want to do. And I started thinking about it, and the best term to explain that would be entrepreneurship, the ability to use limited resources to build empires or change the world or make solutions happen. And I think that started my journey from using waste materials to building solutions to providing access to energy in different communities across Nigeria.
For a young person who is listening to you, who is curious, they haven't started yet, but they have an idea and they've been trying to see how they can implement. What kind of message can you share with them?
My advice to any young person, entrepreneurship is difficult. It's very demanding. But if you're strong enough and if you're passionate enough about what you're doing, push through it. Make sure you have a unique voice. Craft your story in a way that it connects with the right people. Not everyone will be your people, but so far as you stay true to your mission, your vision, and your passion, you will find your people, and that would help you grow in your journey, in building your team, in getting funding, in getting your investors, or even getting your market as well. So be true to yourself, true to your craft. Don't allow what happens in the world change who you are, and keep on persevering.
Right. So about the conference, you have spoken in a panel, you have shared a presentation about your business and the impact that you're creating and the plans that you have for the future. What is your overall experience interacting with young people in such a space? I know you've done such things, many spaces like this, but then generally out of the 2 days conference, what has been your overall impression? Maybe take away moments of excitement, favorite experiences.
Yeah. I think one of the interesting moments were how curious the youth here are. They really wanted to understand not how to raise money, but they wanted to understand how do they solve problems like reaching to their stakeholders, how do they find the right team, how do they connect with the right people. And I think that's very interesting because often people just ask you, oh, how do I respond in? How do I get access to opportunity? But I think it's important for also young people to think from a different perspective. I think one of the panel sessions I loved this morning, just quite interesting, was around IP. I think it was a very important topic. Not only the content, but more of the topic itself, and highlighting to young people that it's important for them to know about IP, trademarks, and safeguarding their ideas or their organizations or their companies. So yeah, I think that's one of my key takeaways.
Right. Last question is to the young people who are listening to you all around the world. From the point of an African entrepreneur who is trying to bring change in their communities and improve lives, what kind of message would you pass to these young people?
I'm a very strong, I'm a Pan-Africanist, like through and through. I love Africa. I would live nowhere else than in Africa, and you see that in the way I dress and the way I talk about my solutions. I think Africa has a story itself. It's a different blend of cultures that are so rich. You see it in our colors, in our food, in our music, and we're so diverse, but so is our problems. And so every African person, every young person that wants to solve problems in Africa, I think you should think about solving it in an African context. Don't try to just take a solution from Europe or America and bring it to Africa. Try to figure out how to solve that problem in an African way by an African for Africans with Africans.
Right. So context is king. Cut. Yes.
So please tell us, what is your name? What do you do? And how did you come to learn about the Kectil program?
Yes. My name is Dr. Prince Ansa. I'm the country engagement lead or country manager for the Climate and Development Knowledge Network, which is part of an institution called South North, based in Cape Town, South Africa. Now, I came to learn about Kectil through a friend of mine, Matthias, who we work closely with, and a very inspiring young man. And when he told me that he's been part of Kectil and Kectil has been part of his development, I knew that this program, Kectil program, is something that I should associate myself with and be part of, this event. So when the invitation came to be a speaker, I didn't hesitate because I know what the change that Matthias has gone through, and that could also be a platform where other young people could also benefit from, something that I could share with them or something that other great speakers could share with them. Now, what actually inspires me every day as a young change maker, as a young person who is both in the research space and also in the development space, is that as a young person, my inspiration is how can research evidence, or how can evidence play a role in sustainable development and then climate resilience for the continent of Africa, and not just Africa, also developing countries. So I work with different partners from different spaces, not just researchers, media, those in the creative spaces, those in the financial spaces. How can all of us come together to create smaller labs that could creatively solve Africa's challenges and Africa's problems? And coming through, Kectil program, I see a lot of young people from different spaces like that, from creative spaces, from research spaces, from entrepreneurial spaces, who are coming together to creatively think through how they can solve their community problem, which overall will solve the problem of Africa as a whole. So I would say a big congratulations to the Kectil program and their structure of how they're engaging young people in leadership to be able to take, the problems of Africa, in terms of solving them to the next level as well. Thank you.
Excellent. Just one more before you leave. Message of inspiration to the young people who are listening. You're doing a lot in research.
Yeah.
Very proper, good intersection leading to from knowledge generation all the way to the application of this knowledge in communities. To the young people who are either aiming to pursue research or who are building as entrepreneurs or who face people working with communities in NGOs and community-based initiatives, what message of inspiration do you have them about the work that they're doing and the kind of value they can create in Africa?
Yes. Now, the word of inspiration I'll give it to young people across Africa who are working at a grassroots level, solving different community problems and addressing core challenges across, different communities across Africa. What I'll tell them is that you are the soul of Africa's solution for a lot of the problems. You shouldn't give up. I know that things like funding could be a problem, but let your passion be the key drive for you. When the passion is strong and then your work is genuine and credible, you receive the necessary support, which includes funding to push your work to the next level. So I'll encourage you, don't give up. I'll encourage you to keep going on. Pursue opportunities, join programs like this, like Kectil programs, join conferences that will open some doors and networking for you to be able to also push further and further. You are the solution for Africa's problem, and Africa and the next generation is looking towards you for a better future and for better Africa. Thank you.
Please tell us your name, what you do, and how you came to learn about the Kectil program.
Hi, my name is Desmond Alumna. I am co-founder for Green Africa Youth Organization. GAYO is a youth-led gender balance organization that support communities to transition into zero waste, circularity, and just energy as well. I got to learn about Kectil actually from my partner because she applied to be a fellow and she actually got in. So that was like, I was like, okay, this is, I never heard of this name before. So, and since then, this was, at least a year or 2 years ago. So since then, I myself subscribe to the social media handles and what have you. And then I get feeds. I think that's the very beginning that I got to learn about Kectil before having the opportunity to now interact directly with people from Kectil.
You've been a panelist and you've been speaking about new opportunities and the whole process of what it means to have a startup or to have an organization that's trying to create impact. And you run an organization yourself. What has been the experience for you that you can share, meaningful experience that you can share to young people based on your work?
I think as a young person, when you are starting or you are already in that phase where you say, I'm hustling or I'm struggling to make it, one thing that you need to really remember is that the idea came from a very deep sense of motivation, internal motivation. Never let that fire that started the idea in the first place get quenched. The second thing is you really need to appreciate the power of incremental impact. Because the fact that you didn't break through all of a sudden doesn't mean that you are not making impact. It just means that impact is coming and it's happening step by step. So appreciate that power of incremental impact and just keep pushing.
Great. So, based on your experience working communities in Africa specifically, this is a message to young people within Africa. There are a couple of challenges that you've probably experienced, maybe funding, maybe skills, building a team, telling the government. What would you advise a young person who wants to create change in community and is experiencing similar kind of challenges?
I think the first thing about how to overcome those challenges when you are starting an organization or you are running one is that you first of all have to recognize that the bitter truth is you can't get far just by yourself. You can't go that far just by yourself. Going far means securing significant funding, getting into breaking the boundaries, and actually leading, becoming a star of reference as an organization that people can say, oh, for example, this group, they do this and that. You need to build a team and you need to begin to understand how to build your own capacity in order to make sure that you know how to make people work together. That is how team leadership will develop from. And then the second thing is you need to also never give up. You need to have that I will not give up spirit. Of course, I'm not saying that keep doing the same thing and expecting, a different result, but then keep twitching. Just have that consistency in trying with your ideas, consistency in trying with how you practice, and never really rely only on yourself. Appreciate the knowledge that others bring on board. When you consult, bottom down, bottom up, top down, it doesn't matter. You need to just make sure that you consult because people's ideas and people's advice can always help you to shape your direction and to help you catalyze your growth process.
Great. One thing that is very important, I cannot end this interview without asking. I know you're an award-winning entrepreneur, social entrepreneur, or impact leader, and you've won one of the major awards from the royal family. We would like to know, as a message of inspiration to young people who are listening to you, tell us about the award, tell us how you won it, and how that made you feel.
Well, okay. So the Airshot Prize Award, this is an award that was instituted by Prince of Wales, Prince Williams. So at a point, I mean, he gave this story several times, that he started asking questions that we have the Nobel Peace, we have other prizes for people who are making change, right? He's yet to see the same thing or similar thing in the climate space. So this is an award that was established for people who are changes in the climate space. Now it has 5 different categories. Each of these categories annually will take for £1,000,000. And one of the categories that I won, which is clean air, is really about people who are having scalable solutions that are helping to clean the air in the various cities where they work. There's another one, Restore Nature, which is also supporting those who are doing conservation and those who are supporting to really protect and restore natures in their natural habitat. There's another one, Revival of Oceans, which is also really about those who are saying that why are the fishermen complaining that they are not having any catch anymore? Why are they saying this kind of species in the water is no longer in existence? Somebody needs to step in and make a change and make sure that things are done the right way, to avoid oil spillage in the sea and what have you. That's also another category. There's also the climate, protect our climate, people who are acting on climate solely, and then sometimes it could be, regenerative agriculture. Whatever you are doing and you are making significant change and you are changing the perception and also the reality of people's lives, you qualify to be in that. So it was by this that we got nominated, and then subsequently we actually got to go home as awardees. And what I can say about this process, you ask me, how do I feel? Excited. It's just a form of validation. It's a form of motivation that, hey, keep doing what you're doing and even do it bigger. And I think that should motivate every young person who is trying, every person who is working on a solution, and to let you just know that the people that know and the people that are aware of the impact of your solution are sometimes can go beyond your imagination. People are watching and people appreciate what you are doing. So keep doing it, because someday you will get recognized very well as well.
Great. I would like you to give a parting short message based on your experience with Kectil, majorly. So from the Kectil youth all over the world who are listening to you speak today, what message do you have for them as a parting shot? Someone who has maybe an idea and they've not taken action on it, they've been thinking, writing, drawing, doing whatever, but they've not gone into action. Someone who has been trying to do organized, mobilized training, but they've not moved to impact. What message do you have for them? And then number 2, I'm giving you 2 sets of questions. It's based on the conference. Your experience in the conference today. What are the memorable highlights of the conference? Parting shots, something that you can share about Kectil based on the experience that you've had in the conference today.
All right. So you are a Kectil fellow. You are an alumni. You are somebody who's aspiring to partake in that, or you are just part of the network by knowing people. The thing is, whatever you are doing, being in platforms like this, I mentioned validation earlier, helps you to stay connected, helps you to have people that can vouch for your work, and it helps you sometimes to also get recommendations, or at least to have access to information that is shared on these platforms that can help you. So I would say keep it up and make sure that you always aim high. This 2-day conference that has happened here in Ghana, I think one thing that stood out, especially during the panel conversation, I could see the level of understanding that people have when you mention things like gender mainstreaming. It's no longer just, people don't limit it only to man here, woman there. They consider the broader perspective. They consider the other people that are not normally having the taste, the disability groups, people having different forms of disability are factored in. And it's so inspiring to see that a room full of young people, these are the kind of conversations that are happening, it shows, it assures us that in the future, which is tomorrow, which is next year, which is next 2 years, you are going to have political systems that are well balanced. You are going to have companies that have young people and women and different diversity of groups on their board, and that is going to be what will result in the future that all of us are looking forward to. So I encourage everybody to keep going and pick up the conversation, never end it.
Excellent. Great. So, Nathan, please tell us your name, what you do, and how you came to learn about the Kectil program.
Yeah, so my name is Nathan Analem. I work for Youth Opportunity and Transformation in Africa, which is a youth-led organization, youth-serving organization here in Accra, Ghana. And the Kectil program, we've been talking about networks today. I was introduced to me by Network, a friend of mine in one of the climate spaces that we work in. And a lot of the things that we've talked about how we can develop the leadership capabilities of young people, how we can build their ability to advocate, especially in the climate space and the green economy, was discussed. And then I got to hear about the Kectil program and some of the work that they do across the globe with youth leadership and building the next set of change makers that we have in our countries and in our world as a whole to be able to affect the change that young people want to see. That's how I came aware of the Kectil program.
Great. You work with youth, you work with communities, you work with impact leaders here in Ghana and across the continent. Why do you think this work of impact is very important? Because there are people who just choose to go and make profit, run a business, make profit, doesn't matter, reduce expenses, increase profit. Why does impact matter so much? Why is this work very important?
Yeah, I think from a policy point of view and from a leadership point of view, we've come to realize that young people, youth, are more than half of the world's population at the moment. And so what it means is that we need to build capacity, we need to provide them with the skills that they need, and we need to give them the strength that they need to scale. So that's where impact comes in. So you could be doing your very small community activities, you could be doing very transformative work, but the level at which you do it is very important for this type of work, because then we can reach more young people, we can reach more countries, we can reach more underserved youth. And on top of that, we can be immediately involved in the policy making and decision making conversations that exist. So impact is important on two breaths. One, we're able to give young people the skills that they need to be able to transform the change or make the change that they want to see themselves. And then two, they're able to be meaningfully mainstreamed into the decision-making conversations, considering the kind of populations that we have when it comes to youth. So the leadership skills, giving them the opportunity to bring transformational change. And we've seen a lot of change makers here this week for this leadership conference. And a conference like this would help them acquire the right networks, acquire the right skills, and acquire the right funding opportunities to be able to translate and scale their work at an impact level that was very useful for the region and then the globe as a whole.
Great. You have spoken at the panel discussion today, and you've given insights about the work you're doing with communities and, of course, definitely the impact that you're creating. And this based on research, implementation of projects, and building networks among these people. Based on the conversations that you've had today together with other panelists, what are the memorable experiences that you can share? What are the highlights of the conversation? And parting short messages that you can give to the youth who are listening.
So I was very excited about today's conversation. One, because there were a lot of enthusiastic young people in the room that were very willing and receptive to the information that the panel was providing them. The truth about that conversation was that they were hearing from people who've gone through the mill and arrived at where they are today and are still even trying to make more strides. So there is that inspirational element of it. Some had stories about how some of their organizations started. Some starting as far back as them being in school, doing their first small community project, which is something in our work we try to introduce to young people to understand that there is always a starting point, and then you can always improve from that starting point. And so we found young people who resonated with some of this information that was being provided by these change makers who started from a very small level and today are making change at the impact level that we want to. So that particular issue about inspirational stories that were being talked about, people sharing their real life stories, hands-on practical information for young people. And then also enthusiastic young people who were very receptive, asking questions that were thought-provoking, looking for key messages. We talked about things about storytelling, the power of storytelling, the power of credibility and building that type of capital, and then the network, the social network that you can have to help you drive it. So based on these three key things, I think the message I'll give young people out there is that it's always a journey. But I also believe that young people are not the future. Young people are actually the now. Because the inflation demographics suggest that we are the majority of the globe today. So we are the now. We need to start utilizing some of our ideas and thinking outside of the box and speaking to people who have had the experiences, learning from them and using that to scale our ideas. So young people today are the future for today, not the future for tomorrow. Yeah, that's very much.
There's a young person in the continent, this interview is biased towards Africa. There's a young person in the continent who is somewhere with an idea. They want to create change, but rather they have written their idea down, they've not gotten into action planning, and they're wondering, where do I start? What kind of message do you have for them?
Yeah, so today we have the power of the internet, power of social media, the power of using the media in such a way that you can reach out to the networks that you have. And I'm speaking to young people who have and those who are underserved as well. You should always look for that next step that allows your idea to permeate whatever environment that you're in. So it could be just sharing the idea to a friend. It could be sharing the idea to someone you think is doing something inspirational. It's leaving messages in people's LinkedIn accounts, trying to share your ideas, sending and preparing newsletters of the small activities that you do in your community. In fact, in our work, a lot that we do is that we leverage on community partnerships. So finding like-minded young people within your community and also promoting intergenerational dialogue. So if there are older people within your community who have transitioned to a certain level, you might want to be taking those golden nuggets from them as to how they got to where they are within their communities. So young people in your environment, you need to make the very best of that immediate environment that you have, the resources that you have, whether it's the internet, whether it's the local community media that you have, whether it's the other intergenerational opportunities that you have to speak to people who've successfully done it. It may not be young people, but they've successfully done it. They've done try and tested models that you can learn from, and then you can use that. Also, we should also talk about the issue of mentorship, which is very important. I talked about intergenerational dialogues. You can identify people who could actually be peers or people who are much older than you that have done it, that can mentor your idea, give you the building blocks that you need to take that next step. So for me, these two key things are very important. And it is through this mentorship you're able to build a life network, you're able to find yourself in the right spaces, and you're able to interact with people who can actually help you scale or impact your ideas.
Excellent. Cut. So please tell us your name, what you do, and how you came to learn about the Kectil.
I'm Raphael Williams from Ghana, a political activist and a social advocate.
How did you come to learn about the Kectil?
Well, Kectil, I met one friend who is a member of the Kectil global membership, who discussed with me about a month ago. And I said, okay, fine, what is the program about? So it speaks about youth professionalism and enhancing youth to be able to understand their self and whatever they want to become. So I just sat down and thought of it because earlier before then I had a program to visit in Burkina, which I didn't really have time. But then I told him that, you know what, I am still keeping up my time very close, and if any opportunity comes that I have to fall in, I am going to be part of it. But later on, after listening to more conversations, watching some video, I saw that it is about youth, it is about Africa. Kectil is focusing more on building African minds, bringing young people with different innovative ideas. So I just said, okay, fine, we're going to see to that. Just give me a week. Last week I called, I think he tested me that, yo, Ralph, are we making it? I said, you know what, I have this week to think through. Even though the program is on Saturday, I said, okay, fine, then let me reach out to the ambassador and the colleague who is actually working on this. We had a meeting with the ambassador. He said, okay, fine, restructure the proposal and let's see how we can do it. Okay, so good. We are not going. So I have this week, so I'm going to be here. He called a day before the program. I said, you know what, you have me. I'm coming for the program because this is about African youth. And I am a youth, and I believe that African youth needs to start having this kind of conversations. And any organization that is really organizing such youth professional entrepreneurship program is something that you should be encouraging. And we all know the loss we have in Ghana, that a plane crash happened in Ghana, which took the life of 8 people, including statesmen who were on the line of their duties. Was yesterday, which as a social influencer and somebody that you look up to, a lot of people were waiting to see me there to also speak to these issues. But I believe that the dead can deal with their death, and the people living should do something. In fact, the youth matters most than any other thing, right? Even though their lives matter, may their souls rest well, but we need to focus on what is actually denying us the future and what is denying us the present innovative ideas and opportunities for which to strive as African youth. So I said I'm going to be here.
You work as an activist, political and social. Why is the work of an activist very important in the present day, especially among us, the youth?
It is very much important because politics is everything. Politics is everything. Politics determines our current, our tomorrow, and our future. I use tomorrow because we sometimes think that tomorrow is near, but the future is far from us, right? But we know that the decisions we are making today has a replication tomorrow, and tomorrow would eat into the future. So we can never do away with politics, but socially we think that no, we can live our life very perfect, but for politics, no. So you try to blend the social life with politics and link it to the people to know that we can never, it works intertwined. You can never do away with your social life away from politics, because every daily life we live is being determined by the political decisions made by politicians in our continent. And it is very much important that we pay much concern to it as young people and also devote ourselves. And I'm using devote because to be an activist is a devotion. And it's very much important.
It is indeed a devotion, and you've made a lot of sacrifice for you to be where you are. I come from Kenya. I see what activists gone through. And recently in Kenya, we had protests. I went to the streets. I saw the painful experience of having to sit through tear gas and the stinging water on the skin. That is a horrible experience for any human being to go through. But you do this, and other activists, Boniface Mwangi and others across different countries are doing it without stopping, despite the challenges that they're experiencing. What is the end goal, and what is the kind of future you envision for African countries post the struggle?
It's a struggle continues. There is no end to this, because the moment you give an opportunity for the oppressor, they comes in re-strategizing to control you. So it is something that is not ending. It is just a continuation, something. So when we are gone, I always say that whatever we are doing is just like building a palace, right? And letting the people who are following you to understand the templates, the plan, the vision, how you want the future to look, like you said. So the future, when the people know it, even when you're not here today, they know what they are building and they will continue. And what is it that we want to see? That Africa, that the African believe in himself, know where he's coming from and where he's going, so that any day there is anything coming around them, because the world has been like the ocean or the universe. The bigger fishes are always getting the smaller ones, and if you're not acting smart, somebody is taking advantage of you to use you. So if you're not on the table, you are under the table, and somebody is actually taking advantage of it. So I want the future that we want to see, or I want to see as a young activist, is the African youth that understands the struggle of their forebears, the reason why they stood up to fight for this continent called Africa. Maybe I'll call it a country called Africa, because Africa is a country for Africans, and wherever we live is our sub-regions, but the youth in the African sub-region would understand their potential, that we are not as we are classified to be. We are equally gifted, we are equally talented. We believe that Africans can put Africa where the world is seeing the other side of the world now in their youth, and that we also can do it and do it far better. The only thing is believing in ourselves that we have lost. So my goal or the future, what I want to see, even in our grade, is that Africa, that the African youth believe in himself and believe that we are building ourselves, not for ourselves, but the Africa and the next generation that will take over Africa.
You're doing activism in a country where the Pan-African spirit rose. This is the foundation of the Pan-African spirit. And right now we're living in a world where we see uprisings trying to make changes. Kenya is taking the lead among us, the young people, when it comes to that, and other countries are looking at it. How different is the movement right now as compared to what was happening when we were breaking from the colonial period? And how can we make improvements, if there are any?
Right. So I believe that the neo-colonial mentality or post-colonial mentality is still setting into Africans a lot due to the kind of educational curriculum that we're using, because of the the African perception that was created illusionally about ourselves, which is letting the African know that there are some control and powers ahead of us that can shut us down if we continue to do this. But all is something that is delusional. They have created that, and nobody even want to test it and see. Recently, we saw the Gen Zs in Kenya rising up above all odds to demand what that they deserve. And at the end of the day, was there a good result or not? There was a result, right? So this is an awakening to other African countries. And recently we are seeing same in Togo. Yeah, that the president that ruled the people for more than 50 years died, handed over the country to his son, and now he also wants to take over his father's lineage by ruling the people as far as he's going to live on earth. And the people saying that, you know what, this is not something that should be done. Even the democracy that has been created for us should be redefined in our own understanding of democracy. So it is something that we all need to inculcate in us, that is a responsibility upon all of us as African youth to inculcate that spirit of the forebearers. There was a strong reason why they started the struggle, and we should at least go back to the root and know why they started and take inspiration and motivation from this to build it forward for those people that will be coming after us, because we can never neglect it. If you sit in a canoe, you need to paddle back for it to push you forward. You can never keep pushing forward because there is nothing forward there. The forward will push you backwards. We should just take a step back, and the step back is looking into our history. The history will guide us wherever we want to go as African youth. So the only motivation and the only thing that would inspire us and keep us moving as a social activist, political activist, is to tell the fellow youth that give yourself the opportunity. We have social media right now. We have the internet right now. We should use it wisely. We should go back and take advantage of it, because today we wake up and social media is no more. Where are you going to research? Where are you going to learn? All this LinkedIn, other platforms that people communicate and share ideas is shut down. Where do we go? So now that we have that in our disposal, we should take very good advantage of it and rise above it and learn about our history, where we are coming from, and it will push us to get to the destination.
Great. Last question is about now the conference. An overview of your experience in the conference and the panel discussion, interacting with people. What are the most memorable moments? What are the parting shots that you've gotten from the conference? And generally, what has been your experience with the Kectil program?
I would say thank you to Kectil for putting this together. It's a fantastic program, but I believe that these programs are just not to be organized for species and I beg your pardon, conversations with the youth, but also see some of the brains within and support in however ways they can, which of course I know Kectil has started doing.
Hi, I am Marius Charles Yambi, a social entrepreneur and an innovator in Ghana. I am currently a Kectil Global Board member. I'm very excited to have hosted the Kectil Youth Leadership Conference here in Accra, Ghana. And personally, I have been inspired because the Kectil Conference is not just a conference, but then it's an event that is really uniting young change makers to be able to create an impact in the society. I believe that this conference is very essential because as young change makers, we need to get access to the platform and get to actually meet new people and gain the necessary resources and expertise we need in our journey as change makers. The Kectil Youth Leadership Conference was hosted in Ghana because over the years, the Kectil program has really identified high potential youth leaders in Ghana, and you've seen a lot of young leaders in Ghana who have really taken the initiative to really create impact in their communities across education, health, entrepreneurship, innovation, among others. And this is why the Global Kectil Leadership decided to host this conference in Ghana. And I couldn't be more inspired. We have really interacted with all the change makers we saw. We had over 200 people working, from young change makers to experts to seasoned city executives from South Africa and Kenya and Nigeria as well. Although I couldn't be more proud of this, and I really hope that we'll be able to have more of these conferences that will inspire people to change the society.